let's set this division up and start with the overwhelming favorite. The odds as they stand right now, Bucs are minus 200 to win the South. The Saints, who also have a prop available on who starts at quarterback day one, are the second most likely team to win the division at plus 300. This speaks to the division. Atlanta is 8-1, and the Carolina Panthers are 11-1. Let's start with the Bucs. And I want to ask you this question, Charles, because I've already bet Brady to win MVP. I think it's one of the best MVP bets out there.
What's the odds on that?
I bet it at 16-1. I see it at 15-1 and 14-1 now. It feels as though things have set up for Brady to be dominant. I want to flip the script though. If the Bucs lose this division, injuries kind of aside, say Brady plays, like what's the pathway in your mind that makes the most sense if they were to lose the division?
Like Tom Brady just finally, like Tom Brady wakes up one day like, oh, I'm 45 years old and I was playing NFL football and it hurts and doesn't look very good. But I don't know. I've been thinking that for a long time. I thought it was going to happen last year, so I'm not going to continue to bet against them. I guess like if like Brady just looking like a normal human being again would be my first thing, but and I still believe a lot in the secondary. Maybe like if the pass rush is kind of piddles out next year, but like this team is, and I actually just wrote about it. It's coming like a little blurb about it. It's coming out tomorrow. It's just so fascinating to see a team bring literally everybody back, and I just don't know like how to like make a clean prediction off that because like you didn't make any additions and subtractions, and you don't want to project that guys are going to get hurt during the season. So like on paper, they should come back and be the number one team in the division again. But if Tom Brady plays like a 45-year-old and really takes a step back and maybe their coverage isn't quite as good as it was like towards the back half of the season in the Super Bowl, maybe that makes it a little more tough for them. But I don't really see a way that the other teams kind of catch up to them because I think just on a whole roster level, they're just kind of in a tier of their own when it comes to the NFC South right now.
Yeah, it feels interesting, right? Because like I've even heard like the theory, and this was about a lot of teams that just bring everybody back, where it's like you lose you want sort of some players on the team that like haven't won a Super Bowl before because they're like more hungry and like they have kind of like this haven't been here before sort of situation, and that they're not going to have that in Tampa. Like literally their backups are all back, and so that makes it really interesting. They are really. Yeah, we were talking about play callers and Leftwich and stuff, and we were looking back and like they were a top 5, top 10 team in the NFL in yards per play allowed and gained in 19. And Jameis was threw 30 interceptions. We've seen historically, Peyton Manning's last year it was a 2-to-1 interception to touchdown ratio. Brett Favre in Minnesota was like 2-to-1 interception. We've never seen that out of Brady, but it almost always sort of the wheels fall off of these guys. And if it's a year where he throws 20 interceptions, we've never seen that before. How could Tampa sort of withstand that? And that's really like that's the tail probability for Tampa Bay here, I think.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see because like it's just the define of basically all quarterback aging that we've seen. I mean, the guy came back and not only like obviously the weapons were better with Tampa Bay than were in his last year in New England, but I also thought he just played better. Like he just improved like on his play, and it's just
warm weather, baby.
Yeah, it's absolutely sickening to watch as someone who just can't escape this Tom Brady. Like first he rips out my heart in that Super Bowl, and now he's in my division with like the most loaded team that I've seen in quite some time in Tampa Bay. It's awful stuff.
Let's jump into this Byron Leftwich stuff, because Eric and I were talking this, right before you came on, and Eric wrote a fantastic article looking at head coaches, defensive play callers, offensive play callers, and there's a method. A lot of people put out pieces like, "Hey, here's my rankings. It's how I felt today. I had Frosted Flakes this morning. One of them looked like one of these head coaches, and so he vaulted up my rankings." That kind of bullshit. But this is a data-driven approach to looking at how play calling impacted performance above what you'd expect with that group of players. And Byron Leftwich was 6th over the last 2 years. Is that fair? Is Byron Leftwich underrated dramatically in your opinion? How do you think about Byron Leftwich, especially given that he's had Winston and now, as you said, a rejuvenated Brady?
Well, I think it's interesting because based on what we know about Tom Brady and Bruce Arians, like they seem like they are for good reasons, guys who have strong opinions of themselves and their standings in the league, and also guys who have a very particular way of how things are done on the field. And all we've seen from Arians forever, basically, like, we're going to throw this ball down the field and we're going to try to attack big plays and pick up big chunks at a time. And Brady, like over the years, like we've kind of known to be someone who's perfectly fine just throwing the ball a million times a game for 7 yards an attempt. And next thing you know, you look up and you're down 35 to nothing. And I think as the season progressed, you kind of saw, like at the start of the season, I didn't think it was working all that well. Like I thought Brady kind of looked uncomfortable. And then as the season progresses, you kind of see the Arians philosophy and the Brady style of play kind of meet each other in the middle a little bit. And, if Byron Leftwich is calling plays, like I feel like I just got to give him a lot of credit for being able to marry these two things that, before the season, it was like, well, this kind of seems like a little bit of an awkward fit just based on where Tom Brady is in his career, based on how Bruce Arians likes to play football. So, Tom Brady, like if my memory served me correct, like he was one of the more aggressive quarterbacks in the league in terms of his air yards per attempt, but like you're still seeing the efficiency. And to me, like if you're doing that with someone who hasn't really played, this like heave down the field style system in quite some time, I just feel like I got to give some props for making it work at such an efficient level. And I know that Tom Brady had input and Bruce Arians had input, but making that work on gameplay, I thought that job and the personalities that he's working with kind of got underrated. So I'm pretty high on Byron Leftwich. And then in the Super Bowl, I mean, that was just such a good game plan performance, especially the play that I come back to all the time is like that toss crack run where Fournette scored on the late run. And you kind of see over the game how they're setting up with their duo and inside zone runs and they bang it outside. And just the way that he's able to stack things and make the defense pay for over pursuing and stuff, it's pretty impressive. Like the whole ordeal from like the personal handlings to the actual on the field stuff. I think he's a really underrated play caller right now.
I couldn't agree more. And I think when you look at that team, like I was watching the NFC championship game a couple of days ago, and like I think I forgot this totally. We remember that Antonio Brown was out, and they go Scotty Miller over the top of Kevin King at the end of the half. Tyler Johnson, who's a 5th round pick out of Minnesota, they're wide receiver 5, made a humongous catch on 3rd down to extend one of Tampa Bay's drives to sort of keep Green Bay at arm's length. They had injuries that were not trivial this year. Like Mike Evans was banged up almost the whole time. Godwin didn't even get 1,000 yards because he was hurt for a decent amount of time. They were in and out at running back. In the Super Bowl, they had a backup at playing guard. They had a rookie playing right tackle. And as you said, Brady acclimating to an entire different offense. Like I think we'll all say, when I put the name on paper, I said people are going to think this is Brady, but I do think he deserves a decent amount of credit. For getting a Jameis Winston team to one of the most efficient offenses, leading the league in passing in 2019, and then turning that over and not only be staying one of the most efficient offenses in the NFL, but completing the job in the Super Bowl, especially given the limitations that Bruce Arians has on him, which is that he's not going to give you 4th down very much. He's not going to give, like, he's not like in the NFC title game when Brady waved them off and had the 4th down play to Fournette, that was an anomaly. Like Leftwich doesn't get the 4 downs that a lot of these offensive coordinators get. And he was still obviously able to coach a Super Bowl winning offense.
I hate to I'm not making this comparison. Please don't, put this comparison on me, but it reminds me a little bit of Peyton Manning Broncos, where, Peyton Manning is a savant there. Okay. He's got great offensive weapons and their offense is amazing. And Adam Gase is seen as a quarterback whisperer. Now, I sure as hell believe that Byron Leftwich is a better coach and play caller than Adam Gase. But I look back at last season and I think about the first, the pre-bye Bucs. They were running the ball on 1st down at a redonkulous rate. I believe only 2 teams were higher than them. And after the bye, they started running play action more. And I credited Brady. It felt like they were doing more things that Brady liked, like, early down play action, throwing a little bit more on early downs. And he got kind of hot on third down. If you look at first and second downs over the course of the season, they were the 10th best offense in EPA per play. So I struggle to put that much of it on Leftwich because I see the struggles at the beginning and I go, was it Leftwich that made all these adjustments, or was it Brady? Some credit, I agree with you, Charles, like it goes to Leftwich for being able to implement them and like work with Brady. But to me, to put him that high on the list at 6, it's a little tough. And I hope it's right because I like Leftwich personally. I told you guys this, like I played with the Jags as soon as Leftwich was picked as a rookie in Madden. I remember it vividly and it broke my heart that he wasn't good, but I feel like we got to pump the brakes a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I just, maybe it's recency bias because we just like that was the last football game that we saw, but I don't know. I've just personally been pretty impressed with, tying together a 43-year-old quarterback and this also stubborn head coach to get it to work for at least one season.